Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Paranormal, the New Normal. You all know me, I'm your host, Jeremy, here trying to, make the world seem a little more normal. Does it ever really happen? No! And actually, well, tonight, tonight it may happen. Who knows? I mean, this is pretty much as close to normal as we get in this show, so, and that's saying something, especially when you hear what the topic is tonight, because, well, let me just say I think this topic's going to bring you a lot of pleasure, but, let me introduce my wonderful guest who is taking the path with me tonight. My guest is Jenn Wodtke, pleasure and touchless orgasm coach.
Hello, hello.
Yes, and I just said that correct. Pleasure and touchless orgasm coach. We did a topic like this years ago, and when I saw Jen's profile, I had to be like, all right, yeah, we're definitely doing this again. I had a lot of people give me good feedback on the last one, so we're doing this again. And the fact that we had 3 viewers when we first started just tells me that people saw the title and they're like, what's this now? But first things first, how you doing tonight, Jen?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Stressful couple days, but I've been looking forward to this episode for a couple weeks now, so definitely was looking forward to getting to do this one finally. So let me start off with the question I ask everybody, slightly edited for you, of course, but so what brought you down the path to this career? Because this is not a career that most women, little girls say, like, I want to be this when I grow up.
Yeah. Well, this is my third career. I wanted to be a teacher when I grew up, and I did that. And it was all wrong for me. I think I've always been a seeker, and I've always been looking for that thing. And as I sort of, I got married, I got divorced, I was a teacher, I did all the nice good girl things that I was supposed to do, um, and felt not so great about all of that. And so in the midst of my divorce, I started really exploring with my sexuality. And I feel like they lied to me about relationships. They lied to me about, what else did they lie to me about? And sort of through my sexuality, I just really started to feel that I had been missing a lot. There was a lot of teachings that I didn't know. And I just knew that there was a lot more for me. So I just sort of fell into it from there. And it was I didn't formally train as a sex coach until very recently, and then once I got into the practices of growing into being a sex coach and learning the tools, my whole spirituality blew open, my pleasure blew open, like the whole world blew open. So yeah, it was a long windy journey.
Well, a couple things. The first thing I would say is, there's that old adage that good girls finish last. So why be a good girl?
Yeah.
Because we all want to finish first. That's the lesson in life here. But I mean, and I honestly didn't know there actually was classes to be a sex coach. I didn't know that was a thing they taught. I thought that was just something I don't know. I thought practice makes perfect, and then you did start teaching other people. I mean, I don't know. I just assumed it was all self-learned stuff.
Oh, no, well, I mean, your own body is your primary tool for experimentation, right? But so yes, but there's absolutely certifications that I'm fully certified. So, I mean, it's the most fun school I've ever been to. It's like I have to masturbate for homework. All right, let's do
I
this.
fuck. I've been acing my home. I've been acing my home. I aced my homework for my first like fucking 25 years of my life. Shit.
All right.
But
Yeah.
hello Harley. Thank you for stopping by. And she says they do always lie about that. So true, true, true.
Right.
And she's kind of curious what a sex coach is, and that's a good question to ask, I guess. Because I mean, not everybody. I mean, I only know what it is because I've had them on my show before. But for those who don't know, what is a sex coach technically?
Yeah, broadly, it's just somebody who helps you work within your sexuality to get you to wherever you want to go. And there's sort of different iterations. People sort of specialize in different things. I am specifically focused on pleasure and orgasm. Other sex coaches might focus on couples, various other sort of specializations. But I really help. I find the women that come to me, They are struggling to orgasm consistently. They kind of just feel lost or disconnected. So I find a lot of my work is not directly with sex necessarily, but we dig in and we find out like what's in your way. Why can't you orgasm? Why can't you have the orgasms you want? And there's a lot of gunk, a lot of shit a lot of us have taken on from society about how we should be sexually, how we can be sexually. So I think a lot of sex coaching is unlearning a lot of that and then replacing it with what you actually want in your sex life.
Well, Harley says, "Damn, I think I need to come visit you." And
Please do.
Harley, don't put images in my head like that right now. Come on, come on, Jesus! Oh, you're killing me, girl. But well, I mean, yeah, I mean, well, there's a lot, and I don't think that this is fully a female problem either. I
No.
think it's also a male problem as well. I mean, maybe less often because men kind of usually have one thing on their mind, and we usually are pretty good at doing it ourselves since we started young. We started at a pretty damn young age. I mean, women do too, but
Yeah.
it's just you're right. Society puts a lot more on women to hold them back, and I mean, 100 years ago, what the hell was an orgasm for a woman? We know that existed.
Right. Right. And I talk about this with all kinds of people, all kinds of places. I've had numerous happy hour conversations over glasses of wine with strangers at the bar. And it always shocks me whenever a woman kind of in public like that feels safe to open up and tells me that she can't orgasm. I say, "Do you masturbate?" No. It's like, so you know, we don't recognize, I think, largely in our society that like sex is a skill and it starts with you. You have two hands, you have everything you need to teach yourself how to experience pleasure. And then you can teach a partner how to pleasure you, right? So that's the first step, I think, is
I mean,
learning your own body.
it really is. I mean, who doesn't do some self exploration in their young teenage years and
Yeah.
figure out what you like and what you don't like? We've all, I mean, I have some memories of freaking definitely hurting myself trying to experiment things. So it doesn't always come easy. I mean, I'm sure for women it's 10 times worse because it's a lot more sensitive organ than ours is by far. So I mean, it's got to be. I mean, I can't imagine, but it's just one of those things that everybody goes through at some point in their life. And from what I find actually is that a lot of people well, maybe not so much nowadays for kids, but kids like even in my generation in the '90s, like some of us got told, "Don't do it. That's sinful.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're gonna go blind. You're gonna have hair on your hands," and all the all the bullshit Catholic Christian lies about that crap. But I mean, it's just obviously you're not gonna go blind or have any other ailments if you do that. It's something we're designed to do. I mean, yes, there can be an addiction issue sometimes. I mean, that is a thing. It is a thing. I will say I don't think I ever qualified for addiction, say, but I could be wrong. I do have impressive records, but
I mean, masturbation is good for you. Like, you get all the benefits of partnered sex. Like, an orgasm is an orgasm, right? You get all the benefits of like all those good chemicals that are released. For women, especially, it seems to really help them go to sleep. It can be pain relief. Like, even if you're not using your sexuality and masturbation for like personal growth or spirituality, there's so many other benefits. Like, everybody should be rubbing one out, like, on the regular.
I 100% agree. It's the pheromones it releases alone in your head when you do it just makes it worthwhile. It'll make the worst day of the world seem a
A
hundred
little bit
times
better.
better.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it depends how good you do it, but I mean, it definitely can. It can clear your headspace completely. And
Yep. Totally.
Harley says not her because she had kids young and still does not know what she really likes. I mean, well, that's that's what people like Jenn are for to help you with that if you can't figure it out yourself or don't have the time or space to figure it out yourself. I guess the other thing, but and I mean, I I've talked about this before with somebody, and this topic is always special, but a touchless orgasm until a couple years ago, I would have thought was literally impossible. I mean, just unless you're like a freaking 12-year-old boy who just gets too excited. I mean, that does happen. But I, for women, I would never thought it was possible until I had another person tell me it is and explain
Yeah.
how she managed it. So, why don't you explain to the audience, for those who don't know, What is
Yeah.
a touchless orgasm besides the fact that you don't touch yourself? Because obviously that's in the English.
Yeah, so my personal story with this, I first experienced it in my I think my early 20s or so in my sleep, and I had no idea. I had nowhere to put that, right? Because we were taught that like men have wet dreams, men can orgasm anywhere, anytime, right? So I had no context for women being able to do this. And I went and kind of told my friends about it, and they're like, "Are you sure you weren't rubbing one out in your sleep?" And I was like, "No, that's not what happened. Like it was like I had a full orgasm in my sleep." And because nobody really knew what I was talking about, I sort of forgot about it and kind of just went, maybe, it is what it is. It doesn't happen to me very often, maybe less than 10 times my whole life. But once I got into my training, kind of thought back to that experience and I went, if I can do it in my sleep, like, surely I can do it consciously if I like there must be a way to do this consciously, but a lot of my training was lacking in sort of hands-on somatic work that I was looking for until in my certification program I went to a retreat and there's like 80 women in the room and we're doing all of this breath work. We're working with a jade egg and we're all on our yoga mats and we're going inside and finding our pleasure. And I was like, I mean, listening to all the 80 women around me, first of all, I was like, oh my God, like these women are starting to have orgasms. Like, holy shit. And then I was like, oh my God, I am going to come and I am not touching myself. I didn't quite that time. I needed like 10 more minutes, but that's when my world really shifted. I was like, this is real. Like, it wasn't a dream. It wasn't something I made up. This is real. And I went home and I thought, can I replicate that? Can I replicate that by myself without having like all of this energy from other people swirling around me? So home alone in my living room, I did all the exercises, the breathing and the tools. And I was like, yep, this is replicable and it can be taught. And pleasure, my very favorite thing about it is pleasure responds very well to consistent practice and to consistent training. So we can teach ourselves new sexual skills if we just set aside the time and we go at it in a consistent, organized way. Like we can all learn how to orgasm if you haven't yet. And I believe everybody is capable of a touchless orgasm if they want it. And even if they don't go to orgasm, I think it's a massively empowering thing to know that you can build pleasure in your body without touching yourself, even if you don't go all the way to orgasm. And every single person that's taken my course has been able to build that pleasure. And they're all like, so close, just got to keep working to get to orgasm. So, like, that's mind blowing to me. That's mind blowing to me.
I mean, it is, and for my okay, the first things first, because I saw that this one part of your profile, and I had to. I mean, I think I know what it is, but I had to ask because a jade egg. I'm assuming it's one of
Yes.
those like vibrating eggs, or
No, it's very, I don't have it handy to grab it, to show you. It's maybe about that big, so it's smaller than an egg, like a real
oh,
egg.
okay.
It's drilled. They're made of jade, often jade. There's some glass ones out there now, sometimes crystals. And you insert it into the vagina, and you can do all kinds of exercises, strength training exercises around it. You can hang weights from it and do vaginal weight training, which is super cool. Yeah, so it's another really great pleasure tool.
Sounds like it honestly sounds like it needs to be an Olympic sport. Vaginal strength training. Come on. But
There is somebody I think who holds the world record. I don't know her name. I think it's a Russian lady. Holds a world record for being able to hold the most weight with her vagina. So, yeah.
I mean, I get impressed enough when I see those freaking videos when women pick up things with it. Like I just get that impresses the shit out of me. Like it's just like I'm like, how? How is that physically possible? It's just like Jesus. But I mean, it makes sense. It is possible because it's a muscle, like any other muscle. You
Yep.
flex it enough, it's strong. But
Yep. Responds to training.
exactly. So you say anyone can experience touchless orgasms. Does that include men?
I I believe so. I definitely come at the work from as female bodied, and my clients are primarily women.
Of
So
course.
that is definitely my wheelhouse, but I don't see why men can't do it. They have the same internal energy system available. They have the same ability to concentrate, to find that pleasure, and to circulate it. So I don't see why men couldn't learn to do it as well.
Interesting. I mean, yeah, we actually, well, not all of us have wet dreams. I don't think I ever have had one in my life. Even as
Oh,
a kid, I don't
really?
think I don't, yeah, it just never happened. I mean, I think I was just emptying the tank a little too much of my own anyway, so I didn't have to. But it's just one of those things. It seems to happen to those kids who don't take care of themselves. I mean, I think it's those religious kids who get like strictly told like you don't do this.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. I think if you do it enough yourself, at least for men, then you're, you know, it's not the kettle's not going to boil over if you are constantly keeping it a little bit empty. So it's,
Yep.
I don't know. That's my metaphor for it. That's my metaphor for it. But all right. Well, let's talk about your client work though, because like you say, a lot of things, a lot of gunk blocks all the systems
Mhm,
up here.
mhm.
What are some of the most common causes of that? I mean, I'm sure we could think of some that everybody would be able to be like, oh yeah, of course. But what are some of the more like ones that people don't think of that really cause it?
Well, this isn't one I think a lot of people are aware of this. I think there's a lot of religious conditioning that gets in there. Um, I think a lot of women have from so many places, from religion, from our media, how we sort of treat women's sexuality in general, they've taken on a lot of beliefs about my body needs to look like this, it needs to behave like this. A lot of women, kind of as nurturers, the traditional feminine stereotypes, they put their partners first. So a lot of women struggle to ask for what they want. They struggle to express how they like to be pleasured. Sometimes they don't know. And I also see a lot of just general underlying shame, a lot of I don't deserve pleasure. I'm a bad person if I enjoy sex. I'm a bad person if I masturbate. So that's I think kind of the most common things that I see people coming in with.
I mean, in this day and age, for anybody to think they don't deserve pleasure is, I mean, unless that's their kink, unless they're one of those like those freaking guys I think are weird as shit that like to wear like dick cages and shit. Like I don't get that, but I don't get the wanting to feel inferior thing and that turns you on. Like I don't. That's one thing I just don't get. Like
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's just my head because I've never. I feel inferior to me is a turn off. It's not definitely not like a turn
Yeah.
on anyway. So I don't know. I don't get guys like that. But
I
I
think
mean,
I think what happens actually though is that gets buried for a lot of people, a lot of women. I'm like I said, primarily work with women. And on the surface, can I just say, are you smoking a doobie? I'm so jealous.
cigarette, but
Oh,
yeah, I might vape a minute ago. But
I'm in Mexico and I'm a Canadian, so I miss Canadian weed. Anyway, sidebar there. Um, I think a lot of us know logically in our head. Of course, I deserve pleasure. Of course, I deserve orgasms, good sex. But often there can be a lot of beliefs that we're not really conscious of that we bury. And I've had this experience myself recently. I uncovered this belief that I didn't know I had. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. There's a lot of things in their way that they don't know are there because they haven't yet gone in and done the work to sort of like dig some of that out and find out what's in their way. Why aren't they having the pleasure that they want? So there's a lot of excavating to be done for a lot of people, I think.
it makes sense. I mean, it does. I mean, there are mental health issues these days are growing and growing, and that's just the sad thing is that if it goes to this level, then I could see why some people in general, I mean, women especially these days, like I said, it's not good. It's not good the way the world, and it's almost seems like we're going backwards sometimes with
I
the
know.
that aspect of society, and I don't quite get it because it's like we came this far. Why are we backpedaling? Like it just doesn't. I mean, I try not to get too political on the show, but it's just sometimes that has to come up. But
Yeah.
well, what? because I mean, Jesus, I'm lost at what I was going to even say. Oh, so when it comes, I mean, as a fan of of a great show on Netflix called Big Mouth, we all have our shame monsters, as they would say,
Yep.
and I feel like a lot of it is parental upbringing, though. Like, isn't that usually like a root cause for a lot of it?
Yeah, totally, totally. And I think that's one of the most unconscious ways because so much stuff happens when we're so little that we can't remember that gets ingrained into how we behave and how we interact and how we create relationships. So yeah, definitely digging into some of the family systems and some inner child work is definitely also a part of what I do. Um, and like I said, I've uncovered some of my own stuff too, and some of it has to do with my family and that shame. One of my favorite things is having a shamegasm, where you go in and you like, and you could do it with any emotion. You can have a ragegasm, a griefgasm, whatever. You go in and you look at your shame and you let that monster speak to you. Just like, okay, here, like say your piece, and you just let it run. And then you flip over into pleasure. So every time we're in those dark, challenging emotions and we choose pleasure, we're starting to like rewrite our story. So you flip back and forth. You go into the shame, go into pleasure, go into shame, go into pleasure, and eventually you have an orgasm. And it can be really, really cathartic to sort of have started out in shame and now you're having an orgasm. And it's one of my favorite things in the world.
Yeah, I mean, shamegasm. I freaking love it. I might have,
Yeah.
I honestly might have to throw that in the title of this episode somewhere. I'm just saying, but because that
I
just
do
made
have a
me laugh.
YouTube. I do have a YouTube video up on that if anybody wants guidance onto how to do it. It's on my YouTube.
The theme song for that video should be that song, "Shame, Shame," like makes me feel so good. Like seriously, that song was written for that. But I mean, I ain't gonna lie, who doesn't enjoy a good ragegasm? I mean, oh,
Right?
oh.
Right.
I mean, they say angry sex is the best sex, and
Yep.
they're not wrong.
Yep. Yep.
They're not wrong for
Totally.
that reason. It's just emotions play a big part. It's all mental, and emotions are a huge part of that. So why not use them? I mean,
Yeah. And there's something like the, makeup sex and the shamegasm. There's something that feels so good about going from like whatever you're feeling shitty about in your life to an orgasm, to pleasure, like that movement from like negative to the positive, for lack of a better word. That in and of itself feels so good. I think it reminds us that we're alive, right? Like we're alive. Like sometimes I think it's so amazing that we're alive. And when we have, these orgasms, sex, whatever, that reminds us that we're alive.
I mean, it does. It really does. I mean, if you, I mean, the days you're feeling like you're worthless, the days you're feeling like there's no point like in life anymore, like it really does change your mental outlook completely.
Yeah.
You'd walk out like with your freaking shoulders swinging, whistling if you can. I can't, but if you can, I mean, it's just. But like, so what would you say are like? Because I'm kind of curious. Like, what are the age ranges of like your customers? Like generally, like is it a certain age groups or is it just all over the spectrum for age?
Um, I'm older myself, so my audience I think tends to skew a little bit older. So most of my clients are probably mid to late 30s and up.
Makes sense. I mean, that's when that's the point in life when women start trying to find out new things that they. I mean, men
Yeah.
do too. It's kind of like a midlife thing, like almost in the
Yeah.
around a midlife crisis. I would say if they're going to have one, that's when it's gonna be part of it. Because I mean, and sometimes in life, I mean, take my parents for example. My mom always said my dad was her high school sweetheart. She married him. She didn't know it could be better than it was. Like she didn't know like that there was other options. She didn't even know that freaking, genitalia were different sizes.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's a Christian upbringing for you. But and just lack of experience. I mean, it was the '70s. You had a high school sweetheart. You usually stayed with them, and you usually wait till marriage or close to at least for some people. But it's just the way it was back then. And I mean, she was not the type of person to ever. My grandfather would never have a porno mag or anything in his closet or anything like that. So there's no way she had exposure to anything. So I mean,
Hmm.
it's just. But I mean, I guess it's a it was a good thing for my generation, for me and my brother at least, because I mean, I guess we learned more that there's more. We learned that there's different things out there. So that we learned that there. I mean, plus we also grew up in 2000s. I mean, we had the internet, so come on, it's gonna happen regardless.
Yeah.
It really is. But and yeah, see, Harley said she married her husband at 19, so that makes more sense what you're saying earlier. But because yeah, I mean that's young. You gotta. I didn't get married till I was in my 30s because I wanted to figure things out. I wanted to see what's out there in the world first before I settle down. And yeah, I mean, I had my fun, but I still have fun. And now I just get guaranteed fun in a way. So I mean, it's kind of better. It's kind of better.
Yeah. Totally. Totally.
Do not miss the days of Tinder. God no. God no. That's a minefield. That's a minefield, and even
Yeah.
dating sites before that were even a joke. Like freaking, I remember the eHarmony days. Oh my god.
Plenty of fish. Yeah.
I never really messed with Plenty of Fish. Like I heard so many bad things about it. I heard it was like Craigslist basically, and I'm like I'm good. But
Yeah.
I'm good.
Online
I
dating
don't.
is online dating is rough, man. It's rough.
Oh, it is. I mean, for years I did. I mean, it is how I met my wife though, so I can't complain about it too much because it did work out eventually. Just you got to dig through the weeds to find the flower.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
so wanted to ask you this because I actually had a male porn star on a while back, and this was his topic. This is what he does. And have you ever heard of something called spectrophilia?
I don't think so.
Basically, and I'm a paranormal podcast, so this is kind of why it came up. But spectrophilia is basically intercourse with ghosts.
I was just gonna, as soon as yeah, okay.
So I mean, it's it's an interesting topic. I mean, I've talked about it with a few people, and it's just like I don't see how it would be physically possible. I think it's more mental than anything. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he says he's able to achieve full orgasm off of it, and I'm just like, how?
Huh. Have you heard of Seti, where she was reincarnated? Do you know who I'm talking about?
Can't it sounds familiar, but I don't
She
recognize the name.
she died in she's born in like the early 1900s. I think she died in like the 1980s or something. She claimed that she was reincarnated. Very very fascinating, interesting story, and one that a lot of people bring up when they look for a story to sort of support that reincarnation is real. But anyway, one part of her story was she was a temple dancer, I think, or priestess, and one of the pharaoh, what was it, Ramses? One of the pharaohs, can't remember exactly which one. Seti, it was Seti. One of the pharaohs, Seti, came when and they connected, they hooked up. Big scandal. So I think she was killed as a result. Reincarnated as Seti, and part of her story is that the pharaoh Seti came and visited her and had sex with her in her dreams for a period of a couple of years. Like they had this full-on love affair. It's crazy. And she claimed that he gave her so much knowledge. And she would go out, she pointed out certain things, like certain actual archaeological digs. It's a fascinating story. But yeah, she claimed to have had sex with a dead pharaoh.
I mean, I'm a full believer in reincarnation, so
I am too.
I believe that could be true. I 100% do. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think of spectrophilia and I just go straight to like scary movie 2. But I mean, that's what I grew up with. So I mean, that was the first ever thing I saw about that kind of. But I don't know. I mean, I guess it'd be mental. I mean, same as I guess honestly, in a way, it might be that like right there in line with like touchless orgasms. Like it might be spectrophilia might work the same way in a way. It's just 100% mental.
Do you believe in ghosts?
I host a paranormal podcast. I would damn well hope I do. But and yes,
I guess where
I live in a possessed house.
oh shit. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
it's to me like if you believe in ghosts, I don't know if I believe in ghosts. I believe there's something out there's things out there that we can't explain. But if you believe in ghosts, is it that big of a leap to believe that there's ghost sex? I don't
No, and that's why I can kind of believe in it. But it's just I don't know. I guess it'd be one of those things you have to really experience, and I think 99% of people on Earth are never going to experience it. So
yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's that. I think it's a very rare occasion that happens to anybody. Or
It
you have to
seems
be connected you have to be connected to the spiritual plane in like a very special way for that to happen.
it seems like it would be terrifying. I had a couple weird, almost like once, like couple nights. It was one period in my life. There's two separate nights where I had, I don't know, it was if it was out of body or some sort of visitation, but I definitely felt like some entity or something touched me in my sleep and like I was laying on my back and like flipped me over onto my belly. That's all I remember. So I don't know, like I don't know. I don't know what's true. I don't know what's out there. I don't know what's possible, but I
I
think of
mean,
that every now and then when I start talking about these things. I remember a few instances in my life and I'm like, I don't know, man. Like
I I mean, I guess that goes to just like they call it dog style, but we call it ghost style where I'm from. Like I don't know. That's just
I mean, I don't remember anything actually happening, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It just felt so real. I don't know.
I mean, I imagine it would, and I've heard stories of I've heard people tell about experiences with the same type of thing, and it's just I mean, there's plenty of experiences of people getting hurt by ghosts while they're sleeping, like wake up to marks on their arms or on their back or something like that. So I guess I mean, if ghosts can touch you, then why can't they touch you that way too? I mean, it just
Yeah.
maybe it was just a pervy person when they were alive, and being dead doesn't change things. Who knows? I mean,
Nah, I'm
no,
totally gonna dream about ghost dick tonight. It's gonna stay with me. I'm telling you.
uh, dreams about ghost stick. That's gonna be Taylor Swift's next album. I swear to God. But I'm manifesting that. I'm manifesting that. Come on, come on. I need this to happen. But so have when when a woman wants to like learn this touchless orgasm, it's basically like therapy in a way almost. I'm imagining like it's kind of like like a I don't want to say it's like a psychologist, but like a more like a therapy type of situation.
Um, I just want to be crystal clear. I'm not a certified counselor,
Oh yeah,
therapist, or anything
I
along anything
I'm
like that.
sure. Yeah,
Um, what I find happens, we focus on sort of three main areas in touchless orgasm. First is the body. So a lot of people need to sort of tune into their sensations and like almost learn to resensitize their body and become aware of what's happening. So that's kind of the first chunk. And the second chunk is the mind, right? So the mind protects us, right? The body keeps the score, the mind protects. So we do a lot of work sort of rewriting our pathways because if we've always I think of it as a highway, right? Like an orgasm highway, right? Our body and our brain know one great way to get us there, and they always take that route because they know how it works. They know it it goes quickly, it works. So they do it over and over and over again. So if we want to start orgasming in a different way, we have to start building new pathways. So that's what the mind piece is. We start doing new things. We start teaching ourselves new ways of thinking, creating new realities so that we can start taking new orgasmic pathways. And then we put that all together and we start building pleasure. So we go into the body that we've now sensitized, we find the pleasure and we start working to like circulate it and to ramp it up and make it louder and spread it through our bodies. So that's not therapy or in any sort of way. But what I do find happens, almost all of my clients have reported when they're doing especially work in the mind, like stuff pops up. Like they'll get a voice that says, oh, you're mean, or you're too fat for this, or you don't deserve this. So that's where if we're working one-on-one, that's where we would do more focus to like unwind that. So like I can't call it therapy legally, it's not therapy, but that's where we would coach in what's
yeah.
popping up for you as we start trying to have these new pleasure experiences.
Which I mean, yeah, that's like I mean, I figured it was more gonna be the mind part than the body part. That's the direction I was leading because
Yeah.
I mean, because well, man, would it be physical therapy? I guess in a way, but no, I mean, I wouldn't want to call it that just out of to get actual physical therapists upset, but because I mean, I mean, it kind of is though. It's physical and mental therapy in a way because it's all connected, it's all related.
It's all linked. Everything is linked. And like I said, we never really focus on our genitals that much except for when we're having sex. So when we're not in a sexual situation and we're going in and we're focusing on the vagina, or like, can I flex? Can I feel those muscles? What can I do? Like, and start to really work and then build in that suppleness, build in that strength, and that builds awareness of sensation. And that's the first step to increasing your orgasmic ability.
Of course, and I mean, well, I mean, I've always heard that, and I've actually straight up told women I was seeing at the time, that they should do this if they never did it, and some of them actually came back and thanked me later on in life for like telling them to do that but I like because I was always, I don't know, maybe I saw it on TV show or something when I was younger, and I just stuck in my head, but I was always under the belief that there has to be a certain age when like women just take a mirror and look down there to see what's going on, because I mean. I don't know where the fuck I first heard of it. I think it was some movie or TV show, honestly. I'm a pop culture nerd, so that shit kind of gets stuck in my head. But I mean, I actually told a couple girls who wore like they seemed very sexually repressed when I was with them, and I'm like telling them like you gotta learn what you like more because you can't tell me what you like if you don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm the type of guy who wants to know what you like so I know what the hell I'm doing. Otherwise, it's like trying to follow your GPS when there's no signal, and it's just like no, it doesn't work. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I told them like take a mirror, go look at it, go see which parts you like get played with, and that girl, she came back, she's like, holy shit, you're right. She's like, I wish I did that 20 years ago. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you did. I'm sure you would. I'm sure you do wish that. But it's just, I don't know. Is that not a thing that women regularly do? Like, I thought it was a
I
thing every
don't
young girl
know.
did.
I think I first did it because Cosmo magazine back in the day told me to, and I was like, that sounds like something I should do. And it's still recommended. Like I see it in a lot of the literature I come across that it's still recommended. Um, yeah, and if women haven't, they absolutely should do that. But yeah,
Yeah,
our
it's
ours
self-introspection.
our stuff's not as visible as a dick, right? So you have to.
Uh, I mean, trust me, guys are looking at their own shit when they're young all the time,
Oh, I
just like,
know.
and we 100% know what we like by a young age because it's
Yeah,
just, I mean, well, okay, there's not many variations of what we could do with it. So, I mean, you're going to figure it out pretty fast. We
yeah,
don't have and honestly, I've always been jealous of that. Since I was like a teenager, I've been jealous of that. I'm like, there's so much more girls can do. It's not
yeah.
fair.
I mean, I think women are in some ways sexually superior. Like we don't have the same. We have a refractory period. I think it's. I hate the mythology that like women can just keep going and going. Like we have a refractory period, but we usually recover quicker. We can have multiples. We can typically go longer. Like I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
all
we're
that is 100%.
superior.
I mean, I 100% agree. It's all everything you just said is 100% true.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I could pop a blue pill and I'm gonna be able to keep up somewhat better, but eventually it's just gonna be okay. It's been 4 hours, so I need to go to the hospital. Like, like what the fuck? But it's just, I don't know. It doesn't. It always seemed unfair because I mean, yeah, and you're 100% right. Like, because I've been with women where it's just like, even my wife, where it's like, I finish, it's just like she's like, "You're done already?" I'm like, sorry, I couldn't control that fact. It just kind of happened. I like give me 20 minutes maybe, and then I fall asleep because I'm a typical guy. But I should just get up and stay standing up until 20 minutes later. But I'm a guy, so I lay down and it's just. But now, so I mean, yeah, ever since I was young, that's always the way I felt is that women had an advantage there, and also it's because of the fact that women are more picky of who they want to have encounters with than most are, at least compared to men. So it feels like that's another advantage because it you wait for it to be something more meaningful. I mean, so many experiences I wish I didn't have, just and it's just because it was the big head talking, you know,
Mm,
the big head doing all the thinking and making stupid decisions. But some of them which could fuck up your life pretty bad. But so
yeah.
I guess the oh, what are some like are there videos out there? But I mean, yes, you make your own videos. I know that as a fact. But is there any other videos or teachers out there that you recommend people check out too, just in like that you learned from that helped you?
I learned from Layla Martin. That's who I got my coaching certification through, and she's absolutely fantastic. I highly, highly recommend her.
I mean, I feel like there's got to be.
There's
Oh,
tons. I mean,
I,
there's
well, I,
there's a lot of women moving into the space right now, which I love. Like, it feels like there's sort of a quiet revolution going on with women stepping into like sexuality and spirituality spaces. So there, no matter what you're looking for, there is a coach out there who specializes in uh what you need, and there's going to be someone whose personality you like. Sometimes the great coaches you don't necessarily somebody who's coaching in the area that you need, you might not gel with their personality, but keep looking because there's going to be somebody who you click with and who knows how to get you where you want to go. And there are tons of coaches out there who really just want to make everybody's sex life better and offer support. So,
and I feel like, and I mean, I feel like I know because this is I mean, this is a topic that's touchy. Like people don't, especially if they're already feeling sexually oppressed, they don't want to talk about it. Even like they need to be comfortable. And if you get a coach you don't click with, it's just not going to be a conversation that you can have even because
yeah,
it's just going to be
yeah,
like you're just gonna keep standing there like I don't know how to even start this. Like how am I even gonna say this person? And they seem like they'll be a dick about it or be mean about it. Like it's
yeah.
person. I mean, it's like that weight loss coach that freaking makes you feel miserable every day of your life and doesn't really help you. Like there's there to make fun of people. Like it's just it's I mean every profession has them. Every profession has people
Oh,
like that,
totally,
and
totally.
so I totally I really do agree that you're right. You have to click with the personality of the person you're working with. Same as anything. I mean, same as anything. I wouldn't want to work with a psychic medium who I didn't click with because it just I I don't know. Some people have superiority complexes. Some people have just there's so many other different personalities out there that you have to be careful who you mesh with.
Yeah, totally, totally. And I still get coached. Like, the journey is never ending. So, you always have room for growth. You always have the one thing I believe, one of the few things that I believe is absolutely true in the world is that each one of us have unlimited pleasure potential, myself included, that we haven't tapped into. So I encourage everybody to go and find some resources, find a person to support you. I'm taking clients. I have a Touchless Orgasm course. But go out there, do some research, and there's lots of free tools out there too. If that's what if your budget is free, there's lots of free tools, and start working with your sexuality. It's such an amazing vehicle for not only for pleasure and orgasm, but for growth in all areas of your life. So I really encourage everybody to play with their sexuality. Like,
What
so fun.
uh, actually this is actually a question I just kind of thought of. It's actually something I'm kind of interested in your opinion on. How do you what? Because I know there's different beliefs for a lot of people on this, and but what do you think about what's your feelings on like pornography? Like, do you think it actually like stunts people being able to express their sexuality, or do you think it actually helps?
I think the problem is that we don't have good sex education and people are turning to pornography for education. And I think that is highly problematic. I think we need to recognize that most pornography is like going and watching The Fast and the Furious. You don't drive like that in real life, right? Because it's just not how life is. I think we need to recognize that pornography is not a representation how most people are having sex most of the time, and just look at it as entertainment. Don't look at it as education. Don't look at it as truth. Look at it as just entertainment.
Of course, I mean I mean, it is entertainment. It was my entertainment for many years. But and I mean, shit, I see. I've seen so much hate for it online, like where people are like, "Oh, the if you watch porn, then you're not." then you're closing yourself off to having real relationships. And like, not true.
I
I
don't think that's true.
It's education in a way. I learned a lot of tricks and tools from pornography that over the years that women to this day enjoy. So I mean, it could be a teaching tool for both genders. I mean, for
Yeah.
every gender really, it could be a teaching tool.
I mean, I think the other for me, the other big problem with porn is that it presents unrealistic expectations for women in
That
terms of
is true.
right? Like
That's
in
true.
terms of body, in terms of being able to come really quickly or squirt or whatever. And I think that is a big, big problem. Like a lot of women just that, and that's what I mean. Like that, you can't take that as education. You can't take that as truth. A lot of women simply don't want to have sex like it's shown in porn.
Oh
Um,
God, no. I mean, it's. I mean, I once even had like a freaking counselor therapist tell me like that he exactly what you just said. Like he was an older guy. And he's like porn is unrealistic. He's like it's not how. I was in high school at the time, like freaking freshman in high school, and he's telling me this, and I'm like, dude, I haven't even done anything yet. Like, like, what do you think I expect it to be? And he's like, just no, it's unrealistic expectations. Like, women are not like that. I mean, yeah, there's all different types now out there for different body types. So, I mean, it actually can help you find what body type of women you prefer, and it's great. I mean, I was a fucking BBW lover for porn for fucking 2 decades. So, fuck yeah, best category on every site. Best category on every site. I swear to God, it's just my way. But so I mean, it has. I think porn has its ups and downs.
yeah.
I think I don't know. I feel like it can. It's about limiting yourself to so much. I mean, I have numbed myself to the point where like that's where I almost was addicted to it. Basically, that's all I wanted to do was watch it, and like it just got to that point. I was like, okay, got to back off for a couple of days, and avoid it, like the plague. Go work
I
some 12-hour shifts.
Yeah, if it's overtaking, yeah. If it becomes addictive, I think that's a different problem. Um, I'm not a big porn watcher. I find it too graphic personally. I prefer my imagination. But I had the craziest experience with porn. I was in San Francisco I was studying at a sex school there, and they had they had what's called the fuckorama. They had vintage pornography like from 1912 or something. I don't think has ever been released. And they had this massive, massive wall in their theater, and they played the fuckorama, and it was like 12 porns 12 porn screens like playing at this like at the same time. And
Jesus.
so yeah, and so the idea was to desensitize you, right? Because the idea was like, okay, you're gonna be a sexologist. People are gonna come to you with all kinds of things, and you need to be able to not react to stuff that you're not into or stuff that you personally squicks you, right? So you're
Yeah.
watching this, and you're in a room full of people, and you're like, oh, like where do I put my hands? What do I do? And so we're watching this, and so you find something, and I'm like, okay, this is fine. And then it changes, and it's something I'm not at all into, and and this is like 40 minutes long. It was insane. But I remember there was this porn from like 1912. Bonkers. At one point, this dog walks into shot and started lick. I was like, I can't. I was like, I need to look somewhere else. What is happening? How did my life bring me here?
I mean,
But and it's like that 1912. It was like they tried to cram in tastes for every single person. Like there was so much going on, and it's like black and white. You know those how like
I I
how
was gonna say, is it?
the frame rate is slower.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
oh my, it was crazy. It was crazy.
I
And then right next to it, you had this like super stylized, like really sexy, more traditional shot. It was nuts,
I
nuts.
mean, was it silent and then they had like the little like subtitles in between scenes like
I don't
turn
remember.
around turn
I don't.
around dear, I want to see your posterior.
I don't think there was subtitles. I don't really remember, but I don't think so. But
I mean,
it was quite the
I
experience.
had to be silent. I'd imagine it's silent though because in 1912 there was no sound in movies.
Well, yeah, and there was so many different screens playing at the same time that
You
there
probably
was
wouldn't
like
be able to hear it
the one
regardless.
track. There was just one track for the whole thing.
Oh, I mean, it's
Yeah.
well, I mean, man's best friend for a reason. But uh, and yeah, what can I say? I've stumbled into that world in my porn days as well, and that world is, yeah, I don't get that. That's one thing I just don't get. But I mean, I've read a lot of confession stories too online about shit like that, and it's just like, all right, apparently there's a lot of people that get it though. A lot of people get it, so okay. I'm not gonna discriminate against people. I'm just gonna not my world, not my thing. Not gonna go that way. I'll go down this path instead. But it's interesting. I mean, it's in 1912. I'm jealous now. I kind of want to see what the hell that'd be like, even to see that, because
Yeah,
I've
I
seen
don't
like
know.
50s, 60s stuff, but like 1912.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what they did. That school is now defunct. I don't know what happened with their archives. I know one of my fellow students was involved in or had access to like a warehouse of some of the stuff. They had so much stuff. Like,
I'm sure.
yeah, it was crazy. I think they operated at one point they operated, I can't remember what it was called, like the erotic something or other museum in Vegas. So they had a ton of erotic materials. And like the 1912 stuff, it might have even been 19 or whatever. But the 1912 stuff, it was like I said, I'm not a porn watcher. I personally find it too graphic. But even me, I was like, I can understand like the significance of this. Like this is like some of the earliest porn that must exist. And it's of course, as soon as you give humans a camera, as soon as it was invented, they start recording each other having sex. Like of course they did, right?
Of
But
course.
like it's just that was fascinating. And part of me is like, oh, it's like I know that lots of people would find this kind of cool, and it's too bad that it's not actually out there. But they had issues with trying to distribute it and whatever. I don't know if they ever tried too hard, but I think they did at one point and they just gave up and they just all of their porn just sort of like sat in an archive.
I mean, it's you see all the old stuff's just not being appreciated anymore because it's in a world where, especially since COVID, where Pornhub is free, premium Pornhub is free for everybody. Like it's why would people go look for certain films and whatnot
Yeah.
when everything is on there? Like literally almost everything that's imaginable. And I love those memes I see all the time. It's like in a world where Pornhub is free, why would you pay $30 on OnlyFans to see Stacy from Alabama with 8 kids get herself off? Like it's like it makes me laugh every time I fucking see it because it's and I think it's something else that actually is ruining the sexual today is things like OnlyFans and Unfiltered. I think it's just oversaturating the world with this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no mystery anymore. I mean, you could easily see your neighbor, your your high school friend's mom, or your teachers. I mean, those stories come out all the time. It's just like where a teacher gets caught with one, and the school has to decide what the hell they want to do about it. I mean, it's just I don't know. It's making everything too available, and I don't think kids these days get the same mystery that we had when we were kids. And that mystery is good. It makes you think. It makes you use your brain actually and figure out how to get things you want to see. So I mean, it's I mean, yeah, everything's too accessible these days. That's the biggest problem in the world,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
But and Harley did ask earlier, so I did put your link in the comment so that anybody
Yeah.
wants to go check out your site can check out your site. But why don't you tell my audience where they can find you and if they want to look into you?
Well, my site is jennwodtke.com. My YouTube and my Instagram are both under Jenn Wodtke. So those are the primary ways to find me and reach me.
Well, there you go, folks. And of course, I will put that link in the description for the podcast as well, just so any of my listeners can go to it because they usually don't go back to my video. I don't believe, at least they might. If they do, thank you. But and it was a pleasure having you on. The fucking ironicness of saying that word, it just kills me on this episode. It really does.
It was a pleasure to be here.
I hope so. But and I will, of course, but folks, remember these are important things, and they're not easy to talk about. Shit, even I had a little trouble talking about it tonight, and I always get a little flush when this shit comes up. I mean, it's just, and actually, the funny thing is, the other guest I had that was extra on this, she was in like her 60s or 70s. So that was even harder. That was a lot harder to get through. It's just like I'm like it was like talking to my grandma, and it was just like things should not mix sometimes. But all my listeners, watchers, you know where to find me. If you don't, shame, and that's something you should feel shame for. Is not know where to find me. So, but it's in the outro. Listen to it. Watchers, it's on the bottom of the screen. Just read it as it scrolls. But please come back tomorrow and Friday. I have interviews both days. So, yeah, you get an extra day this week. Good for you. But thank you, Jen, for coming on. And
Thank you for
to
having
everybody
me.
else, yeah, my pleasure. Yeah, I'm trying to think of, like, I'm even trying not to say that word. It still keeps popping up. Have a good night, everybody, before I say it again.